Welcome to the deep dive. You send us sources, we dig in and pull out the really fascinating stuff.
And today we've got excerpts from the screenplay for Strangers on a Train.
That's right, this is the final draft, October 18th, 1950, credited to Raymond Chandler and Senzi Ormond, based on Patricia Highsmith's novel, of course.
Exactly. And what we're doing today, our mission, as you like, is to really get into that first meeting between the main characters.
Guy Haynes, the tennis player, and, well, Bruno Anthony.
Bruno Anthony, yeah. We want to see how they're introduced, what makes them tick right from the start.
And how these opening scenes just lay this really unsettling foundation for everything that follows.
It really does. And it starts visually, even before they say a word.
Okay, right. Union Station in D.C., two separate arrivals, and the script really highlights the contrast, doesn't it? Even down to the luggage.
Oh, completely. First thing we focus on, their shoes. Guy gets out of the cab. His stuff is described as modest-looking. Tennis rackets there, too.
And his shoes.
Dark brogues. Paired with a conservative suit, it screams traditional grounded.
Then this big limo pulls up. Chauffeur!
And again, we zoom in on the shoes first, but these are, well, totally different. Black and white sports shoes.
Naughty.
Very. And expensive airplane luggage. It's just a much more look-at-me entrance.
It's like a visual shortcut, right? Setting up this tension between them before they even properly meet.
Absolutely. The conventional versus the unconventional. Dark brogues, bright sports shoes, hints at who they are.
And then the camera follows them separately through the station.
Until they end up, seemingly by chance, side by side in the parlor car. And that's where the real stuff begins.
Right. The interaction kicks off with Bruno accidentally touching Guy's shoe.
Kind of nudging it, yeah. And his apology is instant. Almost too instant, too friendly.
Yeah, it felt a little like he was putting it on, a bit performative.
That's a great way to put it. Bruno definitely has this theatrical streak, while Guy seems to want the exact opposite.
He just wants to blend in, be left alone, gives a polite nod, but the script says he turns away, implying he wants privacy.
He seems reserved. Maybe a bit tired, even.
But Bruno doesn't really take the hint, does he?
Not at all. He just launches right in, recognizes Guy, calls him important because he plays tennis.
And then that line about himself, people who do things are important. I never seem to do anything. Quite the downer comment.
It really highlights Bruno's neediness. He seems drawn to Guy's status, wants to sort of bask in it.
And Guy's reaction.
Well, the script says he fidgets slightly, looks a little embarrassed, like he doesn't quite know how to handle this sudden intimacy, or the self-pity, maybe.
Things move fast then. Bruno just assumes Guy's off to Southampton for the doubles tournament.
Yeah, shows he's already been paying attention, knows things about Guy.
Yeah.
Which is, a bit intense for a stranger.
And the whole cigarette thing seems minor, but feels loaded somehow.
It really does. Bruno offers one, Guy says no, doesn't smoke much.
But then Guy offers his own lighter.
Exactly, an elegant lighter. So, yeah, well, it's more than just being polite back. Maybe a subtle way of showing his own status, his refinement.
And the script describes it specifically. Crossed rackets insignia. And the inscription. To G from A.
Yes. That detail. You just know it's going to matter later, right? Chekhov's lighter, maybe?
Definitely feels like it. And Bruno's reaction is, again, very effusive. Elegant. He seems really taken with it.
It just feeds into his fascination with Guy, Guy's life, Guy's thing.
And Bruno admits he's too friendly. It's like he knows he's coming on strong.
Which is interesting self-awareness, kind of. But then Guy snaps back a bit.
Yeah, perhaps you read too much. That's pretty pointed. Suggests Bruno seeing things that aren't there.
Shows Guy's got a bit of an edge under the surface. He's uncomfortable. But Bruno apologizes quickly. Seems genuine enough.
And Guy backs off a little. Admits he's pretty jumpy.
Which is our first real clue that something's going on with Guy. Stress, worry, likely about the divorce from Miriam we learn about.
Yeah. Okay, then the drinks. Bruno just signals the waiter. Double scotches. Plain water. For both of them.
Without even asking Guy. It's quite presumptuous. Controlling, almost.
You're definitely taking charge. And then that little joke. The only kind of doubles I play.
A bit lame, maybe. Trying too hard again.
And immediately pivots to something incredibly personal. When's the wedding? You and Ann Burton.
Wow. Yeah. Just straight in there, no preamble.
Yeah.
For someone you just met.
Guy's obviously surprised, corrects him, that'd be bigamy.
But Bruno just waves it off. Says divorce is still the simplest operation.
There's a sort of casual darkness in that, isn't there? Like relationships are just disposable.
Exactly. A cynical worldview, maybe. And it kind of foreshadows his later more drastic ideas about solving problems.
He then goes off on this whole theory about marriage, assuming Guy and Miriam were just like high school sweethearts gone wrong.
And Guy's reply, close enough. Super brief. He clearly wants to shut this down.
He is not interested in sharing his life story with this guy.
But Bruno barrels right on, raises his glass to the next Mrs. Haynes.
So presumptuous. It really shows how fixated he is on Guy's life.
Then the whole lunch situation. Guy wants the dining car.
But Bruno insists it's full, which who knows if it's true, and basically maneuvers Guy into his private compartment.
Total control move. And then he orders this huge meal for himself. Lamb chops, fries, ice cream.
And kind of pressures Guy into ordering, too.
Yeah, Guy reluctantly gets a hamburger and coffee. He just highlights that power dynamic, doesn't it? Bruno's definitely running this show.
Once they're in the compartment, the vibe changes again, right?
Oh, yeah. Bruno's been drinking more. He gets bright and feverish.
Just the details in the compartment, the almost empty liquor bottle, those detective novels.
With the gaudily illustrated dust jackets. Tells you something about his tastes, his inner world.
What do you think? The booze explains the mood, but the novels.
Maybe a fascination with crime. But maybe a kind of warped view of it. Escapism into something thrilling, maybe.
And he gets obsessed with Guy's lighter again, snapping it open and closed, lights his own cigarette with it.
Like he's taking possession of it, almost. Then he starts rambling college expulsions, wanting to go to the moon.
His cynical take on Guy marrying Anne, the boss's daughter.
It's just this stream of consciousness, reveals his restlessness, maybe some insecurity, definitely his cynicism about people.
Guy tries to bring it back to Earth, mentions his stop is coming up soon.
But Bruno keeps circling back to Miriam, her name, assuming she played around a lot.
He almost sounds hopeful she'll cause Guy more trouble, asks if Guy has enough on her for the divorce.
It's this really unsettling fixation. He's digging, probing. Guy keeps trying to change the subject, clearly uncomfortable.
And then the conversation takes that massive left turn.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Want me to tell you one of my ideas for murdering my father?
Casually dropped in there, like discussing the weather. It's chilling.
The lack of any real emotion behind it is what's so disturbing.
Yeah.
And the way he lists methods, the light socket, the carbon monoxide, like he's picking out socks.
Guy tries to deflect with humor. Kind of like, isn't murder illegal?
Brings up the law, yeah. But Bruno brushes that aside, comes back with that theory. Everybody is a potential murderer.
And points it directly at Guy. Didn't you ever want to kill somebody? Say one of those useless fellows Miriam was running around with.
He's really pushing Guy's buttons now, testing him, seeing if there's a darkness in Guy that mirrors his own.
Guy pushes back, though. You can't go around killing people just because you think they're useless. Seems like a clear moral line.
On the surface, yes. But Bruno, he just dismisses it completely.
That line, oh, what's a life or two? Some people are better off dead, Guy. Take your wife and my father, for instance.
Horrifyingly casual. And then he introduces his wonderful idea, the one he uses to fall asleep.
And this is where we get the actual strangers on a train concept.
He starts explaining, now let's say you want to get rid of your wife. You'd be afraid. Motive would trip you up.
But they're arriving at Guy's station. The explanation gets cut off, almost.
Builds the suspense for a second. But then Bruno lays it right out there. Simple. Stark.
For example, your wife, my father, crisscross.
Just like that. The brevity makes it even creepier somehow.
Guy's reaction, what? Is just pure shock. Instinctive.
And Bruno's response is so manipulative. We do talk the same language, don't we, Guy? Trying to create this false bond, this complicity.
And Guy's answer is interesting. Sure, we talk the same language. What do you make of that?
It's ambiguous, isn't it? Is he just saying anything to get away? Which he does very quickly, thanks him for lunch, tries to bail.
Or is there something else there? A tiny flicker of something? Hard to tell, he just wants out.
But Bruno gets the last word in. Stops Guy right at the door.
That final question. You think my theory is okay, Guy? You like it.
Leaves you, the listener, just hanging there with this awful sense of dread. Foreboding doesn't even cover it.
Wow. Yeah, so that initial meeting, it's over, but boy, has something been set in motion.
Absolutely. Bruno's character, manipulative, obsessed, deeply disturbed, is laid bare. And his fixation on Guy is clear.
Plus, that crisscross idea is just hanging there like a threat.
Exactly. So for you listening, we hope this quick dive into just these opening scenes gives you that rapid but, thorough insight.
You see the power dynamic shifting subtly. You get this horrific idea dropped casually. It's those aha moments without getting bogged down.
And it leaves us with some big questions, doesn't it?
Mm.
Did Guy really just brush off Bruno's idea completely.
Or did it lodge somewhere in his mind? What about him being jumpy earlier? What does that say about his own feelings about Miriam the divorce?
And that lighter, inscribed to G from A. How's that going to figure in later? Makes you think about this chance encounter and just how dark a path it might lead down.
Yeah.